Welcome to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. I'm your host, renowned sex and relationship coach Amanda Testa. And if you are looking to reclaim your sexual desire, take sex from a to-do to something you look forward to, and enjoy deeply connected relationships without adding more to your already full plate, then you are in the right place. Listen in to discover how to fan the flames of your feminine fire, fall in love with your sensual self again, and experience intimacy like never before, all in a way that feels really good to your system. Make yourself comfortable and enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. This week, we are in the second part of a 6-part series all around sex, creativity, and power. And today is all around embracing your worth and desires. It is so important to feel worthy of what we want, because when we want to bring our desires to life and we want to live a more sensual, embodied life, have those epic relationships and connections that we desire, to feel seen at the deepest levels, then we have to feel worthy. We have to feel worthy of what we want. And this can be a big challenge for many of my clients. I have a lot of challenge around that. So today we're going to be diving in how we can feel more worthy, how we can nurture our soul seed, which is our inner part, our little young child part of ourselves, how we can overcome neglect and self-denial, how we can discover and honor our true desires, how we overcome the societal conditioning and expectations that keep us from fully trusting ourselves and trusting what we want, and really tapping into our worthiness. So I want to start with worthiness, because feeling worthy is crucial for a fulfilling sex life and creative expression. And often we hear so many messages coming along that really undermine our self-worth, specifically as people conditioned as women in this culture, right? We get paid less. We are taught to be pretty and quiet and attentive, and we are taught to care for everyone else's needs. And because of this, there is that underlying, often felt sense of being unworthy. And so what do you do about this? This is the question, right? What do we do about this? Because when we talk about coming home to our worthiness, this really has to do with an archetype I love called the soul seed. And I learned this from one of my mentors, Rachel Maddox. I'm one of her Rebloom certified coaches. And I really love this archetype because it really is the very center of everything. This is the place where we remember how to feel for our needs, how to ask for our needs, and how to receive our needs. This is the core of worthiness. Our needs for resource. Simply, it can be as simple as food, shelter, money, time, rest. Our needs for care, our needs for attention, our needs for connection, for safety and belonging, right? These are so key. And oftentimes, these are developmental skills that we may or may not have received coming along, right? When we have that experience in our bodies, in our beings, in our felt sense, like we feel what it feels like to have been tended to and honored and cared for and protected and provided for and loved, then we often have better capacity to feel like we can sense what we need, that we can speak into them, request them to be met, and respond to the needs and meet them ourselves or have them met in other ways and actually be able to let them in, to receive them deeply. However, on the other hand, when you have that felt sense experience, that lived experience, that feeling in your bones of being ignored, of being neglected, of being excluded, of being untouched, abuse, all of these things, if your guardians didn't demonstrate curiosity or care, and again, maybe they were too busy, maybe it was by no fault of their own, but these are all forms of neglect. It could be physical or emotional. And many people have experienced levels of emotional neglect, but don't categorize it that way because they had their physical needs cared for. This is why oftentimes some of these things can be very under the surface. And what does this mean? Well, when we have grown up with these feelings of self-denial, then we start neglecting ourselves because that is the model that we were given. So these are the messages that we get coming along that maybe say, I don't deserve to receive my needs, or it's just really easy and more comfortable to take care of everybody else's needs. Let me center everyone else's needs. Let me caretake. Let me just take my needs down to nothing. Let me make myself really small. And when this happens, this is a hypo response, right? This is when we don't know our needs, or we have this sense that we don't matter, or fear of ourselves, who we are, fear of putting ourselves first. This is where we often may stay in dissatisfying relationships with work, with ourselves, with others, We don't take the time to nourish and cultivate our curiosities and our desires. Sometimes the common fears are people will think I'm selfish if I put myself first, right? Or I'll lose my relationship if I start having needs. Or, I don't even know what I need. I am so numb up to what I need. I don't even have any idea. And that makes me feel shame. Or feeling that worth piece again. Am I worthy of having my needs met? I don't think anyone would care enough. Or I'll just be way too much, right? That's a big one for many women is I don't want to be too big. I don't want to take up too much space. I don't want to make other people feel bad. Many of us have been taught it's not cool to brag or to celebrate ourselves. We want to often make ourselves feel small to make other people feel comfortable, those types of things. Now, the other side of this coin is deviance, right? Deviance. This is a hyper response to this. So this means if you didn't have your needs met, perhaps you are going into the other extremes, right? Maybe you're going outside of your quote unquote safe family unit to have your needs met, even if that way is unhealthy, right? Unhealthy relationships, unhealthy people that you are around, fear of being alone. That moves you into dysregulated action. So maybe you put yourself with the wrong people or person just so you don't feel alone. Lots of partying, lots of escape and numbing behaviors, taboo relationships or affairs. This is where the numbing behaviors like addiction, food, sex, love, substance, codependence, all of these come into this realm. So when someone's in defiance, it can feel threatening to go without getting your needs met. So there you kind of excuse yourself in defense of getting the needs met. So these could be thoughts of like, I know this isn't the healthy coping mechanism, but I really, really need it. Or I'm just really into numbing out to Netflix. I'm really into watching this show. Or I really know this isn't the best relationship for me. They're not in a place where they can commit to me, but they really love me in a way that I've never been seen before. And even though it's a very unhealthy person that is not available, those types of things are the way these things show up. So we can cope in a few different ways that get in the way of our worthiness. And one is when we fall into the habit of trying to meet all the needs ourselves, not trusting others to be able to show up for us, fear of disappointment, taking on so much more than you need, right? Hyper caretaking for everyone else, not reaching out for support, depending on others to be there for you, fear of having needs. That's really key. People are going to let me down. I do it the best. Why should I trust someone else to do it? A lot of times I see this caregivers, specifically moms, people that take care of everyone else, have busy lives and jobs. A lot of type A people often have this type of response. So what do we do? How do we deal with this? What do we do about this? Well, there's a few steps that we take when it comes to embracing our worthiness and our desires, to improving our ability to feel worthy of what we want and to be able to receive it on deep levels. One big part of this is working with our little young part, our inner child, because often this is where a lot of these beliefs, a lot of these experiences were seeded. Now, this can be a complex thing. And so often when I'm working with clients one-on-one, we go way deeper into this. But there are things that you can do to tune in and nurture that part of yourself. I'm going to zoom back just a minute to kind of talk about the worthiness and receptivity one more time, because when we are talking about the keys to getting this back, there's 3 steps that are really key to being able to, at the root core, feel that you are worthy and deserving of what you want. Number 1 is being able to sense what you need, sensing your needs, right? Being able to tune in and what is it that I need? What is it that I need? And really listening, right? So often we haven't taken the time to slow down and listen, to cue ourselves, to pause, to check in. What is it that I need right now? Do I need to drink a glass of water? Do I need to reach out to a friend for support? Do I need to take a walk and get some fresh air? Do I need to look at something outside of my computer screen for a few minutes, right? And the more we're able to sense our needs, we grow this capacity to really tune into what we need so that we can feel more safe, more nourished, more cared for when it comes to romantic relationships, when it comes to friendships, community, our rhythms of our days, our routines, our home, our purpose, all of these things, being able to respond to difficulty. That is such a key part, is being able to sense your needs. The second thing is being able to speak, ask for, right? Acknowledge or request that your needs be met. So once you can sense what you need, that enables you to then be able to communicate with yourself or others that, okay, number 1, are my needs being met? Yes or no? Okay, so if not, what is not being met? What do I need instead? Right? Being able to sense and speak, acknowledge, request your needs is part 2. And then finally, being able to meet, respond to or receive your needs. So when you can sense and name them, then you move into action. Can you respond to your awareness with aligned action? Can you meet that need yourself? Can you allow someone else to respond to your request? Can you experience receptivity on a deep, deep level when your needs are in fact being met? Can you let it in? Can you receive it? That's another big challenge I see for so many. And so where the inner child comes into this is that often we have these core unmet needs that we experienced as little ones. Maybe we didn't get parented in the way we needed. So we didn't properly learn to sense, speak, and respond to the needs in nourishing ways that we're actually regulating. And by that, I mean that we're healthy. So if we think about how we grow, we're a child, then we move into adolescence, then to adult, and then to elder. And really the wise adult is the one who is inside of us that's most capable to take care of this young one inside of us. Often the inner child shows up in our current day in ways that we don't realize, but they could secretly be running a part of our lives. The part that didn't get listened to, that didn't have its needs met. They're also very wise. First of all, we want to celebrate that part because it found ways to defend against feeling neglect, or it found ways to care for its needs. And even if they weren't healthy, it was a survival mechanism. So this child was a child, right? So their capacity to do that was probably not very great. They were a child. So maybe if you think about the ways that you want to nourish this part of yourself, oftentimes we can have the inner child showing up in our sex lives, right? Because there's a young part of us that never got taught or that didn't get the messaging coming along in adolescence, perhaps, that it was safe to be sexual or that it was safe to have needs in the bedroom, right? That it was safe to fully express yourself sexually, that it was safe. Many of us did not get that message. Let's be quite honest, because it is not safe in many ways in this day and age, but there are places where we can create more safety. So if we think about that little part of us, maybe the simplest thing you could do is just tune in and realize that there is maybe a little one inside of you that might have needed something that it didn't get. Maybe just think of one little thing that comes to your mind right now. Like, we're not going to go too deep into this, but just if there's one little thing, even if it's just holding yourself right now and just saying, I'm with you, I'm here with you, just giving yourself some love, that can be a good way to just nourish that part of yourself. We can go more deeply into this, but I just want to bring that concept in so that you understand how important it is. You hear a lot about inner child healing because it's important. It is. And we have to acknowledge that there is often inside of us something, a part of us that didn't get what it needed. And that's going to rear its ugly head in times of stress or overwhelm, or even just in times where you're not feeling comfortable. These adaptive parts of us show up. So when we are able to sense our needs, when we are able to tune into that, starting with those basic things to really get this receptivity, this worthiness activated, it's often connected too with our navel, right? Our belly button, that connection point to the umbilical cord where we did receive everything, even no matter what the situation was, you received enough to be born and to be here today, right? You did get what you need to be here. And so just even connecting to that navel and just sometimes I love this affirmation of just placing your hands on your low belly and just saying, I am here. This is my body. I am here. I am here. I am now. I matter. I am worthy of receiving my needs. And just feeling into what are the needs that might bubble up, right? And just noticing what are the little baby steps you could take, some doable ways that you might be able to move towards meeting those needs. It's a beautiful step for worthiness. I'll also put in this delicious PDF resource guide that I have put together. It is incredible. It's called The Pleasure Palette, and I'm going to tell you where to find it. You go to amandatesta.com/thegoods, and you can download it there. And it is chock full of all the resources for these 6 episodes. But inside of that, I'm going to add a worthiness and receptivity meditation that you can listen to really feel into and stretch the muscles of your receptivity, of your worthiness. So that is going to be a resource that you can find. I'm going to shift gears a little bit now, and we're going to move more into those desires, right? We got to tune into what we need. We got to know what we want. We got to be able to give ourselves the chance to play and dream and connect to our desires because they are a compass, right? We need to tune into these things. They are our compass. And when we can tune into what we want, it's a guide to us. So oftentimes we can think our desires are selfish or feel shameful about what we want. But really, the more we can tune in to what we need, this is a guide, right? It's a compass. It can let us know, okay, is where I am working for me or not? Do I need to shift gears a little bit? And that's how we can follow that flow. The other thing is when we can tap into things that light us up, that give us more pleasure in so many different areas of our lives, which you'll find a fun practice around that in the pleasure palette you can download, then you can really see, okay, where are the areas that I feel really strong here? And where are the areas that feel hard? Where are the areas that might feel more challenging? And when it comes to tuning into our desires, our sensuality, like really bringing that feminine fire back online, that is when these desires are so important. When we tap into the things that make us feel good, when we tap into our pleasure, when we tap into our creativity, that's that life force energy I was talking about in the last episode. That's when we can feel like just this energy flowing through us, this creative energy, this flow, this aliveness that makes everything that we are doing so much more joyful, right? We're more present. We're more aware of what we're doing because we are so drawn into it. We're so in the present moment. This is why prioritizing your pleasure matters. This is why it is so key. And this is why it is such an important step in the process, because we have to often go back time and time again to what are the things that make me feel good? Because when we're feeling good, that actually is a state of being resourced where we can tune into what we need and we can meet those needs and we can act on those needs and we can receive those needs, right? Those are the keys of worthiness. So I'm going to invite you into another little inquiry here. When it comes to desires, if you feel into, there is one thing that you would love to have more than anything else right now, just follow whatever flows into your brain for this exercise. The one thing that you most want, letting go of, oh, this isn't realistic, or that could never happen for me, or that's too good to be true. Let yourself have fun with this. Like go even bigger than you normally would let yourself. The one thing that you want more than anything in this moment, right here, right now, could be anything. Give yourself a moment to connect to that. And I want you to play along with me for a minute as you tune into this, right? If you could have this thing, maybe just imagine for a minute what it would feel like, what it would look like, what it would smell like, what it would taste like, how it would feel to have this as a reality. And if it feels hard to connect to, just maybe what would you be doing? If this was happening right now, what would you be doing? We dove into this a little bit in previous episodes, but this is so important to keep coming back to. Letting yourself feel what it could feel like to have what you want. Anything else you notice in your environment? Anything else that you may be talking about, or maybe someone's saying to you? Maybe the temperature in the room or where you are, the environment. And also as you're doing this, you might notice some things bubbling up that are like, oh, that's not realistic, or oh, that's not going to work, or I feel really tight in my chest when I think about that. It's okay. Just honor all that. It can be here too. And the part of you that wants to dream, let it have a little fun. Maybe thinking too, what would I need? What might I need to be the kind of person who could receive this? What might I need to do for myself? How might I better take care of myself? What could I do to maybe take a little baby step in the direction of this? What would feel creative way to explore this? Or maybe a new way, maybe a way that would feel really good to play with. And also noticing too, as you feel into your desire, if there is a part of you, maybe a younger part that might need some love and attention around this. Just trust whatever bubbles up. There's no wrong way. Beautiful. And I'm going to just share one little bit about the health of this worthiness and just really feeling into this potential possibility that this could be true, that you are worthy, that you have just a sense in your body and being that your core needs, that your identity deserves to be met and matched. It deserves to be honored and loved. It deserves to be seen. It deserves to be known. It deserves to be guided. It deserves to be tended to. And trusting that there is a part of you that knows exactly what you need in order to experience the greatest health with yourself, with others, in your relationships, in your sex life, and that you can act in ways that align to meeting your needs in sustainable and healthy ways. I'm just holding that for a minute. Beautiful, beautiful. And I would encourage you to really come back to this as you need. Go down to amandatesta.com/thegoods, download the pleasure palette, download the PDF, and all this goodness will be there. The worthiness meditation, kind of some ways to explore your desires. So this you can follow along and really do the practices, because I think that when we show up for ourselves in new ways and make it fun, what's a way you could make it fun and more creative? Letting those creativities, letting those pleasurable experiences really flow together to get you juiced up, then it's more possible that you're going to do it, right? Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast and for listening. I'd love to hear how this is going for you or any questions that are coming up. So please reach out to me. You can go to Instagram. My Instagram handle is abtesta, and you can message me, you can post, and I will respond to you. Let me know how this is going for you. And next week, we'll be back with week 3, which is all around creating new pathways and boundaries, because that is another thing we have to do as we are really letting our soul seed get more brave to tune into its wants and needs. We have to protect it. We have to create the boundaries to let that part of us grow and keep out the unhealthy things. That's what we're going to talk about next week. So thanks again for being a part of this podcast. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. If you loved this episode, please go ahead and forward it right now to someone you know would love it. And if you've not had a chance yet to leave us a rave review on Apple Podcasts, please make sure to rate and review if you enjoyed it, as well as make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you want to stay connected, make sure to go to amandatesta.com/thegoods to download your free sensuality activation and stay connected. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.